Namaste. My name is Shriya Gupta, and I'm here from Dallas, Texas. I'm here to talk about how scientific advancements are reshaping our understanding of Indian history. For a long time, India's history was like a game of telephone, told mostly from a colonial perspective. Over the last 250 years, colonial historians
Closer. Closer.
yeah, yeah. Oh, hold on.
Yeah. You see green light, right?
It's not powered on.
Oh, it's this one.
What's that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Give that. Give it.
Yeah.
Click it anyway. There's a clip on. There's a clip on. It's a big clip.
Namaste. My name is Shriya Gupta, and I'm here from Dallas, Texas. I'm here to talk about my paper, How Scientific Advancements Are Reshaping Our Understanding of Indian History. For a long time, India's history was like a game of telephone, told mostly from a colonial perspective. Over the last 250 years, colonial historians have had a major influence, often making up dates or drawing questionable conclusions. They couldn't ignore the Indus Valley civilization because the evidence was so overwhelming, but they still managed to twist the narratives. Achievements in language, medicine, astronomy, and science, according to them, those were the gifts from foreign invaders and migrants like Greece, Central Asians, Europeans, you name it. Even today, some people give credit to the British to give us trains as if the Indian civilization needed their help to get moving. In this paper, today we will explore history through the lens of science. By the end of this discussion, take a moment for yourself on how these scientific-based facts differ from older historical accounts. The goals. First, we will look at climatology, then archaeology, then paleontology, then oceanography, then hydrology, then lastly genealogy. History is an infant. To understand where we stand today, in the terms of global knowledge, Harvard historian McCormick suggests that history is still in its infancy, much more is to be discovered in the years ahead. This is especially relevant for Indian history, as the current world believes that astronomy was introduced when Galileo first looked up in the telescope. But the fact is that astronomy was well explained in our Vedas many years prior to Galileo's introduction. Now I'll present my findings on recent scientific discoveries that have significantly reshaped our understanding of India's past. They dug deep and discovered what? The things you can't see doesn't mean they don't exist. There are many debated theories about the Saraswati River. In 2020, Blinkhorn conducted a fluvial morphology study at Kalibangan that brought us new insights. They drilled deep cores into the riverbeds to investigate the timeline of water flow. Their findings revealed that the Saraswati River flowed strongly between 70,000 and 20,000 years ago and had been active for at least 170,000 years. So this proves that the Saraswati River actually existed and was very powerful, but there's no footprint of it in modern history. First came agriculture. Archaeologists use microbotanical techniques to understand early food habits. which uncovered many hidden facts about agriculture. One key tool used was the phytolith analysis. Do you know that silical particles get preserved in plant tissues for 1,000 of years? This analysis can reveal what crops were first grown and where. Studies we referenced show evidence of oats and barley in Sri Lanka's Horton Plains back in 13,000 BCE, cereal pollen from 11,500 BCE, and wetland rice cultivation in Lahoradeva from 7,200 BCE. These dates push back the timeline of agriculture in India by several millennials. Then they took to the seas. All right, so get this. Off the coast of Pumbahor, a city that used to be a thriving Chola seaport in ancient India, researchers discovered something epic. Dr. Ramaswamy and his team used a multi-beam echo, sounds fancy, right? To locate a port that has been chilling underwater since 18,000 BCE. This place had it all: seawalls, a lighthouse, and a dockyard big enough to handle 70 to 80 ships. And just to blow your mind, the whole thing stretched from 8 miles long and 2 miles wide. But wait, it gets crazier. They actually built 4 seaports, but the first 3 swallowed up by rising sea levels. The last seaport was used by Cholas way back till the 2000 BCE. So yeah, this discovery kind of flips what we thought we knew about how ancient Indians navigated the seas. Oh no, did the nights just disappear? No. All right, so you've probably heard of solar flares, right? Well, those are actually Cornell mass ejections, or CME events, which send radioactive particles into the Earth's ionosphere, sometimes creating northern lights. And if you have seen the northern lights, they are beautiful. But let's get back to this. In 17,176 BCE, there were a massive CME event. Dr. Plenary and his team found evidence of it by analyzing ice cores. And here's the cool part. The event is actually described in Vedic literature as the Sun Sanjana Tropic of Capricorn Ashwin story, vividly narrated by Dr. Vedam, where it is mentioned that the flare was so intense that it caused nonstop daylight and extreme heat for days, maybe even weeks. The mystery of the disappearing men. Well, not exactly disappearing, but you get what I mean. So in 2015, Kareem and his team did a paleogenetic study on 456 Y chromosomes and found something surprising: a huge drop in genetic diversity, especially in today's present world. Check this out. The ratio of Y to X chromosomes from the usual 1 to 3 crashed to a shocking 1 to 17. In India, this crash meant the male to female ratio of 1 to 5, bringing the Y chromosome ratio down to 1 to 15. This decline could have been a long-term problem for humanity. Ancient Indian seers might have sensed this, which could explain why we had such strict marriage laws, such as no inter-caste marriages, or no cousin marriages, or not marrying in the same gotra. It was probably their way of keeping the gene pool healthy. What? No men around? Did everyone hit the mute button? Where did all the men disappear in this particular era? Zhang and a team from Stanford modeled the situation from multiple angles and concluded that this drop occurred due to a warfare between patrilineal cousins. Sounds familiar? Doesn't it sound much like the Mahabharata war? Well, it explains it all. Fighting is bad. Etya Sankhya Hasan Kurva Panda Senyo Akshahinyo Dvijshrestha Pindanashta Dashavatar. This verse in Mahabharata's Adi Parv mentioned that 11 Akshanyas fought for the Kauravas and 7 for the Pandavas. Akshanyas had about 218,700 soldiers. So the total number was around 4 million men. That's a whole bunch of men. This would have been the biggest war in history in the terms of populations, casualties. This is even bigger than World War II. It is believed that most of these 4 million men died. Only about 1 million of the non-participants were left, no women included, which is interesting when you think about a global population which estimates around being 20 million in the 6th millennial BCE. Dwarka sinks, the Black Sea rises. Around 5,500 BCE, there was something called the Black Sea deluge. Water levels were suddenly rising up to 45 feet. Mediterranean waters surged into the Sea of Marmaras, flooding a freshwater lake and turning it to what we now call the Black Sea. From our scriptures, we have proof at the same time Dwarka, a well-planned city in the west coast of Gujarat, may have been lost to the sea. The ruins of Dwarka still remain submerged, and some think that the Black Sea deluge could be linked to the city's sinking. Those mice do get around. Paleogenetic studies mixed with archaeozoology can tell a lot about animal migrations and where humans lived. Bonahome's team studied the house mice, which show up when there is human habitation, farming, and grain cultivation. In India, digs from around 15,000 15,500 BCE found both grain harvestation evidence and mouse skeletons. These house mice, or the mus musculus, appeared with early grain production and later spread into the Middle East by 13,000 BCE and to the Europe by 1000 BCE and to the North America by 1600 CE. This tracks human settlement and agriculture over time. Then the cattle followed the mice. Indian zebu cattle were domesticated around 6,500 BCE, according to genetic studies. After that, they spread from the Indian subcontinent to the Middle East and eventually to the Europe. Genetic evidence show how early trade routes helped move these cattle, shaping livestock practices in those regions. Then followed the haploI group. In the 2015 paper, Borsboon made an exciting discovery. Ancient Indians might have traveled all the way to Denmark. Can you believe it? Denmark in that time? Genetic markers from haplogroup I, a specific DNA that came from India, popped up on the route to Denmark, backing up this idea of this epic maritime journey. Dentists been around for how long? In 2016, Kopp and his team made an incredible finding at the Mehrgarh burial site in the Indus Valley civilization. They discovered ancient evidence of ancient tooth drilling in that time. And do you know from where these techniques were borrowed from? Well, it was borrowed from bead makers of the time. So they started drilling tooth as they were starting to drilling stones and making jewelry. So not only were we skilled at crafting jewelry, but we were also pioneering dental technology. Did they really have GPS 9,000 years before the present? Yes, they did. Using archaeoastronomy and advanced situations, Anil Narayana made an amazing discovery with the Surya Siddhanta. An ancient Indian astronomy text, he found that the parts of it date back to 7,800 BCE, based on the star positions mentioned in the text. The Surya Siddhanta also includes sign tables that let you pinpoint your location on Earth by just looking at the stars. And with that, we will wrap up our dive into the scientific discoveries that shed new light on Indian history. To recap, first we went over the Saraswati River, then agriculture, then navigation and ships, Then the dispersal of mice and cattle out of the India instead of into the India. The Veda antiquity via the solar flares. Mahabharata casualties. Sinking of the Dwarka by Black Sea. Advanced dentistry in 4000 BCE. History is still evolving. With the help of researchers and ever-growing power of advanced scientific methods, now we are on the brink of unfolding India's true history and reveal the facts scientifically. Today, I just want to leave with this. History is like a coin. It has two sides. It is up to us to know both of those